Met Pam Nance a few years ago when she did the Master Gardener thing in my house. I've been to several of the Master Garden annual meetings, and it's great. Pam continues to help me from time to time. She is a Master Gardener. We are going to have to demote her a little bit today. Her title is not Dirt Lady, it's Dirt Woman. So I apologize for missing that, but she lives at High Rock Lake with her husband, has a daughter and two grandsons, and she's a really fine person. Looking forward to hearing her. Pam Nance. Thank you.
Pam, I'll let you take it away. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pam Nance, and I want to thank you all so much for inviting me here to talk with you today. You gave me like the best break in the last few weeks I've ever had. I had a great meal and good people, and actually resting instead of eating, driving down the road like I normally am. I am a garden maintenance lady. I do take care of several gardens throughout Davidson County, and I'm a landscape designer, and I stay busy year round. When I appreciate Dave asking me to come over and talk with you. The food was awesome, and I was trying to figure out when he asked me what I could talk about, and I can talk about a lot of different subjects in a lot of detail. But I thought I really wasn't sure about this group and what you might like to hear about, and I came across this the other day, and there's always trends in gardening. Being in gardening for most of my life, I had two avid gardeners as grandmothers. I had a mother that was an avid gardener, and so I did grow up being dirty and playing in the dirt. So this was a natural transition to me many, many years ago after a lot of different careers. Now I get to do what I love every day, and I never go to work. I'm just playing in the dirt. This is about as clean as you will see me. Don't look at the nails, because I did work this morning. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the trends in gardening. A lot of this has to do, we feel in the industry, just a little over a year that we've been going through. I mean, it's been a dramatic and traumatic time in everyone's life. But really one of the first things that is trending the highest is just gardening, period. People are gardening that never gardened before. It is the biggest activity at all. People are at home longer, so they found, it's something they can do at home. They never had that opportunity before. They were be able to grow flowers. They're learning about gardening basics. I mean, we have a lot of questions. I work with most suppliers in Davidson County, and there's just tons of questions about soil and fertilizer and pests, how to control that. And we've never seen this volume of questions from the communities before. I am a master gardener, and we have not physically been able to be at the Agriculture Extension Office in Lexington, but we do field questions through our website as well as by telephone as needed. We do have some demonstration gardens at the Agriculture Extension store there that they're open all the time. Anyone can go over, and for a long time we couldn't even set foot in those gardens, and they became really overrun by the biggest flowering group ever, and that's weeds. And that's just a flower that hadn't found the right spot yet. But we did get those cleaned up finally. So another thing that was a whole lot of interest, and I have seen the change in the industry happen, because now more than ever, you can buy pre-planned designs. You can buy from different companies the whole garden, and it's already designed, number of plants that needs to go in it. It tells you the square footage, and you can buy it and they'll send it to your house. And that's really been very popular because, again, people couldn't go out and go shopping in a lot of circumstances and for a long time. The other thing, which way do you go with it? Oh, okay.
Right, you just touch it when you're ready.
Okay.
It'll advance.
Okay. The next thing is garden sustainability. I've had to deal with this most of my working life in landscaping, but things that have come up with garden sustainability, it's one big thing is water conservation. We have in the past, not this past year, not recently, too much, but, you know, come up with ideals to conserve water in the landscape. Stormwater runoff has been a huge concern of ours for years and years and years. Even more than it is here in Davis County, and it's a huge, huge issue there. Things they've done, I mean, we've done it to ourselves, so we've got to figure out how to make all this work and make our world good for the next generations. Drought-tolerant plants are a huge thing. People, when you can't water, well, you want your plants to be drought-tolerant during that period of time. And I did bring a sample of some plants I'm going to share with you a little bit later. I tried to pick some drought-tolerant plants that maybe you hadn't seen before. A good old marigold was pretty drought-tolerant. But I tried to pick some things maybe you really wouldn't know about, and I'll share those with you in just a little bit. Composting, a lot of people have gone to composting at home because they were home, they could do it. It's one of the best fertilizers out there. It's very organic. I suggest it to everybody, but not everybody has the time to do it either. I have a great compost pile, and I just don't have time to get it out of the compost and put it into the garden in a lot of times. Planting natives is real big. I have people all the time ask me that they want a completely native garden. And these are plants that grow native in our environment here in North Carolina. And there are actually specialty nurseries in our state you can go to that they grow nothing and propagate nothing but native plants. And some of our local growers do it as well. You'll see labels on there that say native plants. Those are supposed to acclimate better to our climate because they're used to being grown here anyhow. They grow here naturally. So the other thing is organic gardening. I always ask a client when I go in to talk to them, you know, are you interested in organic gardening or are you not? Because that makes a whole lot of difference in how I might handle that particular garden. Mulching is hugely, hugely popular, and that is garden sustainability because mulch, can't tell people enough, mulch actually helps your garden to grow better. It helps with watering, regulating the soil temperature, suppressing weeds, and it adds nutrients back to the dirt itself. As that mulch decays and goes back, it really, you shouldn't have to do a whole lot of extra if you use some natural mulching for that. It also prevents erosion as well. Mulch, typically, if you use the right kind, depending on your topo of your garden, you know, that mulch then will keep the erosion from happening. And planting trees. I mean, we just came through a great time to plant trees. I say you can plant trees year round. You just need to be very careful about watering them really an entire first year. It's not just right when you plant it. It's something you need to think about till those roots really get established in the ground. I mean, just for instance, I planted a Japanese maple back in January, and it's been in the ground, look now, 4 months going on into 5, and the wind that we had this past week, I went out there and that tree was rocking and rolling in the hole. I mean, it was doing this, and I had to put more dirt around it. I put more mulch, trying to keep it where it's supposed to be, and staked it so the wind literally wouldn't lift it out of the hole. And that'd been in there 4 months, so it had not really started establishing a lot of root system. We're going to move right on kind of through these things. There. Creating your own garden getaway, because people were home. They realized that, hey, they couldn't, you know, take a trip. They couldn't run somewhere for a long weekend. So they started looking and developing garden getaways. People are turning to their gardens as a place to relax. And before, we always got in the car and went somewhere. Jumped on a plane, said we're going to go here, we're going to go there, and we couldn't. So small balconies, courtyards, and patios were actually transformed into places for people to escape and unwind. And in doing that, here are some things that kind of came about. People wanted really low maintenance plants. They wanted things that, again, kind of took care of themselves. They didn't have to do a whole lot to get bloom and be happy. A lot of people wanted Zen gardens or Japanese style gardens because it did help them relax. I can't tell you how many times people have told me that when husband and wife were home together for a year, that it wasn't relaxing inside the house. It was very hard for them to get used to being together that long. when there had not been. And then I can't imagine adding kids on top of that. It had to have been a really challenging time. My child is gone and my grandchildren are not real close. So we both had essential jobs. So we were both away from home every day. We weren't at home during the time. The sound of water is a perfect garden getaway. And you can have that for $20 or you can have it for $20,000. It depends on how much money you want to spend. There's little tabletop fountains now. There's self-contained fountains that recirculate water to conserve water. You can put in ponds and waterfalls and all types of things. Probably one of the coolest water features I've ever seen was in a garden, and on the back wall of a patio, they had taken and designed into that a fish tank. And the fish could be seen from both sides of that wall sitting on the patio and then opposite that out in the garden. And I thought that was a really cool way to incorporate that into the garden itself. Keeping cool in the garden. People, again, because you're doing this little getaway, there's a lot of things out there. Most people are familiar with garden umbrellas that go in a table or in a stand. But some of the things people erected garden pergolas. They put in garden swings. That is actually a type of pergola that swing is setting on there. But also, if you're not familiar, there's something called a shade sail now that's very popular. I have a neighbor that uses that to create some instant shade on their little beach by the lake. And it's really a big sail that attaches in 3 directions, and you can put it up and it will create instant shade. And it's kind of a cool thing to have in the garden. And then kind of the flip side to that is staying cozy in the garden. I have seen more and more ways to have fire in the garden. And I grew up a tomboy, and I'll burn something in a minute. I have 3 different ways to burn in my garden, and I live on less than an acre. I have 3 different water features, and I live surrounded by water. But I want to hear it. I want to see it in different ways. I have a fire pit, I have a chimney, and then I have a burn barrel now. I used to have a burn pile because I had to get rid of so much stuff. But now they have fire tables. They have these little tiny portable fire bowls that you can put on tables. And probably the trendiest thing that's been going on, I can't tell you, my brick masons have been ecstatic. People are putting in outdoor fireplaces. So it's a great way to create an outdoor room and add ambiance to that. Growing food. Well, gee, we were at home. So here's one of the trends that was the biggest last year was people buying vegetable plants. And I can't tell you how many vegetable plants have already been in the ground and died this year at our late frost. My grandparents told me never to put anything in the ground until after Mother's Day. It was old the way I grew up, and I don't have anything in the ground yet, but excuse me, I do have a little bit of annuals. But growing food is very popular, and it's a nation here in North Carolina. It's across our country. But a lot of people are growing food in containers. You don't have to have a big garden like my parents and grandparents had. You can just grow it in a pot, put a tomato plant in a pot. You can do mix edibles in your garden. If you have a garden space already, even I had people that had just around the front sidewalk in front of their soft touch hollies, they had tomato plants and pepper plants. They grew your edibles. And there is a whole movement about doing that as well. Fruits have become very friendly and easy to grow. There's a whole line of fruits that have come out now that are thornless and can be grown in a container. There's blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, and they don't do the canes like we grew up with. So you literally can have them on your patio and they will bloom and it'll be a beautiful plant and it will bear fruit that you can eat. It was the #1 thing that my grandchildren liked the best out of all the gardening experiences is going out and picking that fruit. Every time they came, let's go pick the fruit. And they actually now all have their own plants as well. So I've tried to continue that love at their home too. Getting creative with containers. This is something that, again, because we had time, I do probably pretty close to 2,000 containers twice a year. Believe me, you have to get creative after the first 1,000. You can only put in so many of the same thing, and trying to switch up things to make it look a little bit different. And it's very personal too. You can do a lot of different things. It's not new, but it is rising in popularity because anyone can do it, you know, depending on any of your physical aspects. Things that are popular right now are tropicals. Tropicals can be grown in containers very easily. Then moved into a greenhouse if you want to overwinter them, or some of them are so economical you can just pull them out and start over again. A warm winter like we just had, your stuff may come back anyhow. I've got a Mandevilla I left out purposely just to see if it would come back, because it never really stayed cold long enough this winter for a lot of things to even go through a cooling period. Dwarf selections are huge right now. I love them in container pots, but you just wouldn't believe the amount of dwarf selections. Like something that's very popular, like a Japanese maple, you can buy them that'll get 50 foot tall, or you can buy them that get 2 foot tall. So there's a gambit of run in there of dwarf conifers and things, a little small Hinoki cypresses. I've designed entire gardens that were nothing but dwarf selections that will never get over 2 or 3 foot tall. So those are a huge commodity right now, and another way for us to kind of play around with our container gardens. The picture here actually shows there's hydrangeas. I just got a brand new one. And you know I'm a plant nerd. I'm so excited I got a new plant. I got the newest hydrangea that's out on the market this year. I just got it in the mail from Proven Winners, and this is how nerdy I am about it. I knew it wasn't coming out to this year, and I didn't want to miss it, so I ordered it last year and paid for it, so I got it. It only gets 2 by 2. I put it in a pot. And I told my husband I ordered it for him. He said, "You ordered me a plant?" I said, "Yes, I did." He said, "Well, you never ordered me a plant." I said, "Well, I just couldn't resist. The name was so cute." He said, "What was the name?" I said, "Wee Bit Grumpy." And honest to goodness, that's the name of the hydrangea. It just came out this year from Proven Winners. So that was kind of a funny little story. And another thing I want to mention, because people are still real busy, is there are great container watering systems out there that you can hook up yourself very, very easily. There's drip systems that tie into your water hose, and you put them on a little tiny programmer, and they come on automatically, and you don't have to do anything. And it's not so hard to hook up, you know, so anybody can do that. I do it for a lot of people, and some of my older folks that can't bend over and do things, I take them apart and put them back every year in their containers if they don't have them there in the winter.
Getting personal now.
One color in the garden, very trendy. I had done this a lot with white gardens. I guess that's probably the #1 color I have requested. And it's really fun to design with one color only. White is probably a real popular one because a lot of people may have heard the phrase moon garden. White shows up at night. So I try to have, in my own home garden, I try to have white in every single flower bed, because when the lights go out at night, and maybe we're using candlelight or something to light up instead of the floodlights or something, you can see the white flowers even when you don't have a light on. That's probably the #1 color. It's had a huge surge in popularity. If you're kind of scared to do it, they suggest trying to do it in just one container or one bed and see if you like it. If you don't, okay. I have a lady that I've done her garden probably about 20 years, and she loves purple. So again, we have purple everywhere. There's purple every single season that comes up. So she has a predominantly purple garden, and it's beautiful. Foliage combos are also really great. One of the things I like to do is choose different types of foliage, even foliage you wouldn't think about. Go into a houseplant section and pick out foliage you can use in the garden in the summertime. Foliage can be about as powerful as color can be. I'm going to move right on code because I'm thinking I'm close to my phone. Learning and buying online, I'll just have to say it was a shift when everybody was at home. There's a lot. My two #1 places to buy from online is Proven Winners. And then I use Bluestone Perennials, which is another online resource. The plants come in beautifully packaged. They're in excellent condition. They guarantee them 100%. And I buy a lot of that. But I will say I am a huge supporter of buy local. We have a lot of great garden centers. I'm missing Hills here in Thomasville terribly. But I try to buy local for everything. A lot of things are grown here. Many of you probably don't know, we have a Bonnie Plants production company here in Davidson County. And they grow most of the Bonnie plants that you see in about every store in our county. It's located off of Highway 150 over in Churchland area of Davidson County. So those are the other two. We'll go just very, adding more house plants is another top trend. Everybody's probably had house plants, but again, because we're home, we're wanting to have it a little more comfortable, especially if you have a home office. I'll just love this. I love finding that right picture, getting kids involved. If you have kids or grandkids, they love digging in the dirt. My grandchildren pick the flowers in my garden all the time. I never tell them what they can't pick, just take it. And they pick rocks. I have a little one that likes rocks. So getting kids involved, it gives you more time together, and it's good for them to know. Growing vegetables with children. A lot of times children will eat vegetables they grow, and they wouldn't eat them any other way unless they got to go out and pick them and put them on their plate. So that's a great way to get them. So I do want to just share with you very quickly, and I hope you'll be able to hear me. Probably so. I want to thank Lexington Farm and Garden in Lexington. They're really good friends of mine and one of my buy local companies. I did go by, and I'm bad at doing this. I need some plants, and they just let me go out and pick up whatever I want. This is a Truffello Pink Goprenia. This is a very drought tolerant plant. This will come back. This is perennial. You plant it one time. I don't know if you can see it. It has little purple flowers on it. There's a purple and a pink in this, and a white occasionally. Very drought tolerant. I tried to pick things that if you forgot to water them, it's okay. Because normally somebody does every once in a while. Most of you probably know a Gerber daisy. You see a lot of these around. I will tell you, they are now perennial in our growing zone. So you can put them in the ground one time, and they will come back every year and bloom for you. Great plant. When I saw these, I figured they probably grew them themselves. I had to bring these. This was one of my grandmother's favorite plants. This is cosmos. You buy a little 69-cent pack of seeds and throw these out in the dirt and water them in, you'll have cosmos for the rest of your life. They come back every year. I don't plant them. This particular mix was my grandmother's favorite mix of the pinks and the whites. Now, I'm not a pink person, so my mix is orange and reds. So they do come in different colors. This next plant on the front here, this is Meliponium. It can be grown by seed, but once you get it started in your garden, it will come back every year. And it is a no-fuss plant, kind of like Cosmos, Gerbers, Goprenia. These plants all bloom, come up in your garden with no problem at all. And then when it's time for them to go dormant in the fall, they go away and disappear, and you don't have to cut them down. These are no work plants. I thought maybe these were maybe some that you hadn't seen before or were not familiar with. And again, I want to thank Lexington Farm and Garden for sharing a few. It's hard for me to come to a garden presentation and not have a plant. So, anybody have any questions that I might answer?
The ladybug movement, is that, they're all good, right?
Oh, yeah, it's still good.
Pam, I'm gonna have you come back up to the microphone.
Okay.
And if you would repeat the question So
Oh,
that
for Zoom.
everybody on Zoom can hear.
I forgot about the Zoom. Sorry, guys, on Zoom. I've done so many Zoom meetings and Zoom things. The question was the ladybug movement. Is it still active, still kind of going on? And oh, yes, it still is. Ladybugs and honeybees and pollinators, that's still a huge trend. And I always laughed about it being a trend because I felt like almost all gardens were pollinator gardens anyhow. It just sort of came about as a big word and everybody wanted one. And I still have people ask me to design them a pollinator garden. And I look around, I'm thinking, well, you already got one, but let's add some more stuff. But you can buy ladybugs actually and have them shipped to your house. But there's just tons and tons of pollinators out there. And if you just have a few flowers, it will increase every year because they remember where to come back to. You have another question?
I got ladybugs one time and all of mine went over to George Hudson's.
He must have had something you didn't. Oh, goodness. Yeah, it's hard to make things stay in your own yard, but I always say. Any other questions?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Like a lot of other people around here, all my dogwoods are about dead. Is there a replacement for the dogwoods that's resistant to the blight that got them?
Yes, the question was about dogwoods, losing native dogwoods. Native dogwoods do have lifespans. Most people are not aware of that. A native dogwood, if it lives to be 20 years old, that is long. And it's not anything, all plants have a lifespan, and most people just don't realize that. When you lose one sometime in the garden after a period of time, it's just tired, it's ready to go. It wants, to go on. There are more dogwoods out there now. The Coosa dogwood, they've done new hybrids now that are more resistant to pests. They bloom at different times. There is a Cherokee Princess and a Cherokee Prince dogwood that were designed to replace our old native dogwoods. Very, very rarely find them for sale in the trade. Most of the time it's Cherokee Princess and Cherokee Prince. One's pink, one's white. Coosa dogwood is another one that's come out in the trade. It blooms a little later in the season, and it blooms after the leaves come out, and it's a layered look. Doesn't have the single blooms that the Cherokee line has. And then if you want to really go even further, there's beautiful pagoda dogwoods that are dwarf, that stay very, very small. I have a couple of those in my garden as well. They've got variegated leaves and different kinds of blooms. So there's a lot of dogwoods to choose from now. Not much you can do about the blight. I have a pink. I've already lost one of my pinks. My second pink is looking really bad. Even the blooms did not open all the way this year. And I have been putting compost on it for the last 2 or 3 years, trying to prolong its life. And so hopefully it'll last a couple more years. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Pam, thank you so much for sharing with us. Dave, thank you for bringing her. You need to bring Pam back every year. I think this is wonderful information, and I'm sure everybody enjoyed it as much as I did. So please do consider coming back and visiting with us, Pam.